You're on.
Am I on? Hi. It's that Tuesday, Mardi Gras, February the 13th, 2018. And welcome to Vegas Tribune. I'm Catherine Duncan. I want to thank Mr. Rolando Larraz, first of all, for allowing us to have a Black History Month program. We're here daily from noon until 1, VegasTribune.com. If you'd like to join me today, we're going to be discussing the General Assembly, the United Nations General Assembly, the Human Rights Council 33rd session. This is a report from the working group of experts on the people of African descent on its mission to the United States of America. And we have joining us DJ Drew. Are you joining us? You're not joining us? You just came over just to say hey? Okay. And it sounds like he's looking for Jennifer. Jennifer's at the market, if that helps you out. Jennifer's at the farmer's market. Okay, Andrew. Okay. Tell him that she's not here, she's at the farmer's market. Did she tell you to meet her here? Okay. All right. So she's coming. Oh, great. Okay, so now to get in the spirit of today, DJ Drew, we wanted to play some KRS-One music. As soon as you get that music over to Network Nevada TV, we'll be able to honor KRS-One by sharing his beautiful, beautiful lyrics with the listening audience. So to start out the day, we're going to start with the highlights from the Temple of Hip Hop, the Gospel of Hip Hop from the First Test Instrument, presented by KRS-One from the Temple of Hip Hop. It says, February 13, everything emanates from our cosmic mother, existing as one, all sisters and brothers. So to expand on that, since we don't have any guests in the studio today, everyone's preparing for the Mardi Gras, we're going to talk about cosmic mothers and what it means to be sisters and brothers. So we got who now?
I'll join until Jenny.
You gonna join? Oh, the producer's gonna come in and join it on the show. How's that? Because I'm gonna have to ask my own questions and then answer them myself. Okay, so before, hey Monica.
Good morning. Well, it's afternoon. My name is Kamisha Monica. Good morning, good afternoon for those who are just getting up to see in Las Vegas. So you never know. And I'm glad to be a part of today's Black History show.
And anyone else who wants to join us, the phone number to call in is 702-983-0711. 702-983-0711. And no one is joining me, then I'm just going to have to give a dissertation. But Monica's going to come and talk until our co-host Jennifer gets here. We are expecting a couple of people. You know, we're on that CP time thing that we talked about.
Well, I don't know if it applies to this case. When you waiting on Miss Jennifer, I don't know what you call that. Is that still CP time?
Yeah, you know.
She did say yesterday we don't own it.
Right, we did. Okay. So how could we be all sisters and brothers, Black people and white people and Asian people, and how can we all be sisters and brothers? How could that be possible? What do you think he means here?
I guess I would say, you know, if you want to, I know this is, you know, his Bible, right?
Yes.
And when you look to the Bible, I'm talking maybe a King James version or something like that. You know, it says, you know, love thy neighbor, right? And if you love God and love thy neighbor, if you tend to follow that type of rule, then that would make you, for me, that leads to being like a sister and a brother. And you don't look at people as your enemy based on the color of their skin or their stereotypes about you or anything else in the world. You just look at people as, you know, you look at people in a humanitarian aspect of it, right? You just look at people for who they are and you say, you know what, I'm going to just love you irregardless.
Well, when I read everything emanates from our cosmic mother, I think of the cosmic mother as being God.
Okay.
Everything emanates from God.
Yeah.
And the essence of a woman, then if everything emanates from God, then my sisters and brothers are my God.
So the universe.
Universal.
When you talk about cosmos, universal sisters and brothers. Absolutely.
And to be quite honest with you, I do follow a movement that's led by a woman who represents the epitome of being a cosmic mother, and that's Dr. Hafsa Hamoon. Mm-hmm. Which is where I want to lead the conversation a little bit today, because it was through my association with an organization she founded, which is the Universal Peace Federation and Women's Federation for World Peace. I was affiliated, or am affiliated with both those organizations. And through my dealings with them, I have come to understand some of the workings of the United Nations.
Okay. Yeah.
And the one item that intrigued me, or was so important to me about the United Nations, was their findings in 2016.
Okay.
So this, to me, was one of the most important elements that's happened at the United Nations dealing with Black people. And here's Jennifer joining us now. Jennifer, I think Andrew wants to talk to you maybe before you go on the air. He needs a sidebar.
Yeah.
Now, Monica, you're familiar with this United Nations document.
Absolutely.
As a matter of fact, you went to the UN.
Yeah, it's because of the organization's Dr.
Hafsa Hamoon.
You know, I can never get that. It's just so much for me. I don't know if it's, my American slang that I speak on occasion.
Hawk means a crane. It's like a bird.
Ah, okay.
And I don't know what the job means, but Han is her family that came down through the generations. It's her maiden name. So Hafsa Hamoon, of course, she was married to Reverend Doctor. I was like, no,
yeah, so I got led to this organization, Women's Federation for World Peace, through the Women's Chamber of Commerce, where I ended up meeting and was blessed with someone to come in my life by the name of Kimio Anthony. And through her leadership, I was led to Washington, D.C., for a Learning to Lead conference for women at the Washington, D.C. Times.
That's amazing.
Yeah. You know what? From where I come from, this is probably a dream for most people. You wake up in the morning and you go to school and you read about these things in 3rd and 4th grade, and you never imagine yourself being here, and then one day you wake up and you're there, and you just really don't know how you got there.
Yeah.
So, in my journey, I was able to experience going to the United Nations on behalf of Women's Federation for World Peace, which is a global organization in 192 countries that, for this particular event, it was the commission and status of women as leaders, teaching women sustainability, or even, hearing the outcry or outpour of women from countries all over the world about, what's happening in their countries that we usually don't get to see in traditional media, on the news, or, through the newspaper here, because, we're doing American news, right? And if you want to go global, you might see something on CNN. So having to step into the UN and really take a glimpse at the world on a global level was,
It's an eye-opener.
It's an eye-opener.
It lets you know that you're not the only one with problems.
Absolutely.
First of all.
Yeah.
And that, your heart really goes out to some of these countries and nations. There's one country that they're an island, and the water level is raising on their island. So they know within so many years when they're going to be totally out of the water.
Yeah. You know what? Yeah, I know. Yeah. And so when you go there, you find out these things, and then you look at your American life, and you go, when you find out that there are people in Africa who don't have water in their village and they have to walk a mile or two, and then the water is still not filtered. You look at the bottle of water that you pick up every morning, or the 2 bottles that you have on your desk you're ready to drink at any given time. You go, okay, well, I guess the American life,
So we have to admit that we're spoiled.
Yeah.
We're spoiled. From a materialistic standpoint, we're very spoiled. And
I agree.
I have this. Hey, welcome, Jennifer.
Hey, Jennifer.
I guess since Jennifer's here, we got to stop and talk about the Mardi Gras. Huh?
Yeah.
First world problems, y'all.
The first world problems. Having to get here from the market, that's the first one.
Right. Garden, drinking $4 tea.
Stop, please, you're making me feel bad. You're making me feel bad.
We should give a shout out to my friend Carrie Classy, who has the Intuitive Forager Farmers Market. And
Okay.
it's called the California Family Farmers, and they bring all the organic produce here to the valley, to like the really great restaurants, and to all the famous chefs all the way like up and down the coast of California.
Right.
And so for us to be able to go into that garden and pick produce and be a part of the farmers market, like it's seriously a blessing. Like
It really is.
when I personally walked upstairs to the top to the office, that we're so like lucky to even get to be a guest of. We were like, "Whoa, what did you do here?" I'm like, heaven. Like I don't even know.
It's our cosmic mother we were this morning.
Yeah, cosmic mother.
Everything emanates from our cosmic mother.
Absolutely.
Welcome, Jennifer, to the show. Tell us what's going on with Mardi Gras.
Well, it's today.
It's today. I'm finally here. And what's happening today? Because news media is all over us. I get
I saw it on outside.
So they want to talk to us. They want to know what's going on. I don't know who's going to speak on what we always do. They want to know what's going on and what's the best time to be there. If you only have a few minutes,
If you only have a few minutes, you should be there at the beginning, of course, because the sun's out, it's warm out. The free refreshments are going to be still available.
and what the free refreshments going to consist of?
And ice cream is bringing their ice cream carts out, so everyone needs to come out because we don't want to have leftover ice cream.
Oh, yeah.
And we are having a neighborhood fish and chip fry.
And it's all free?
Yeah, we can.
Well, supplies.
So we gotta get there.
There is going to be an official ceremony, correct?
Correct, with an MC. Our MC is Derek Kahara, and he is going to be there to announce our king and queen of the Mardi Gras. And we're going to have the king and queen's royal court with maidens and captains of the Mardi Gras, and they're going to be tasting the gumbo contest. So if anybody in the valley makes a good gumbo, you're still welcome to come out.
Is there gonna be gumbo for sale?
No.
Nothing's for sale.
Don't worry. If you're a volunteer, you might get a special. You can go inside and get a bowl of your own, maybe.
Stop saying that. Don't tell
Whenever it's tasted it.
Well, the reason this event is free is because we have some wonderful sponsors who we told them we wanted to make a safe Mardi Gras for children, and we want to teach sustainability and also encourage people to register to vote. So Caesars Entertainment stepped right up and agreed to not only renew their membership into the Ward 5 Chamber of Commerce, but also to help sponsor the Mardi Gras. And then Normal, which is an organization that's coming in to help get criminal records expunged, particularly for people who have marijuana or cannabis charges. They'll be there teaching us how to go through that practice. And we've got the Women's Federation for World Peace, again, coming out because they're always interested in race relations with the African American community. So thanks you to our
that too.
And also,
They did race relations.
the lights could not go on without Ahern.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
And who else?
We have some people who, even though we might have had to pay them a bit, just the fact that they dropped everything they were doing to support the project. We got the D, who's providing the stage.
The D Hotel?
The D Hotel, providing the stage. And the company that's putting up the barricades even. And the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department.
They came for free.
And not only the policemen coming, they've gone over and talked to the Muslims over at Al Shabour, and they're going to come and help us with security. So we are starting to get some unity.
Remember when we saw that rainbow from that street that day? Yeah.
So there's been a tremendous outpouring of support for the Mardi Gras. The children are excited. We had a couple unfortunate incidents. Miss Georgia Dante, who has been a dear friend for a few years, started back in 2011 when I ran for mayor. And she gave me undying support, but she's ill. She's has to have surgery. She's in the hospital. I just got that message yesterday. I don't know what hospital she's in yet because she called my next door neighbor, Mr. Hambrick, to let me know.
Such
she was in the hospital.
intertwined community, right?
Yeah.
Call a neighbor, it's your neighbor. That's taking you back to the day. That's when you know it's fake, right?
It's going to be dark at night, and she was in the back, and he comes busting in the front door, office, and, typing away, and he just comes busting in, dark at night.
So it's like family.
Yeah, Carrie, and he goes back to I think she's seriously in the bathroom yelling, and she's like, "Give me just a minute." It's so crazy. No privacy ever. Never.
We live in a glass
I
house.
know. I'm just saying. I'm like, no.
No, that just really shows the community, but it also shows a pinpoint of they know whose door to knock on.
For sure.
Yeah, they know exactly where to go in that
And it's
neighborhood.
always unlocked.
Is it? Stop saying that, please.
No, I'm afraid this is out.
Okay. It's not always unlocked. It's
No,
just business hours.
please don't bother me after business
And
hours.
business
I'm
hours.
so cranky.
And business hours for Black History Month is 10 to 4 every day. We're open 10 to 4, and we're giving out tours every day from 10 to 4. So anyone wanting to learn a little bit more about African American involvement in Las Vegas history, Harrison House is certainly a place to be. The place to stop in. We're open, and we welcome anyone wanting to learn more about race relations and how to further a peaceful, lasting peace in America. Okay, so we're talking about, we're back going to the United Nations again. So we talked about what got me involved in this, looking at the African American conflict from a global perspective. Not just from how Blacks see ourselves in America or how whites see ourselves in America, but how does the world see us? So that's maybe a better vantage point. And so this Human Rights Council in its 33rd session, the report is called Racism, Race Discrimination, Xenophobia. Xenophobia, and they have another term called, and I had to look these terms up. I had never heard of.
He said xenophobia. I was like, what?
Xenophobia. So look it up. Xenophobia is a word that I didn't even know existed, and it's racism, race discrimination, xenophobia, and related forms of intolerance follow up to an implementation of the Durban Declaration and Program of Action. I guess it would be, which Durban would that be? I don't know. Okay.
All right, so I got it. Xenophobia, intense or irrational dislike or fear of people from other countries.
So it's a medical phenomenon.
Well, it doesn't necessarily say medical,
I mean,
just
yeah,
yes.
it's a sickness, right? If you could,
It's a form of
it's
phobia.
a phobia. So.
It's a fear, so that's a phobia. It's
Yeah.
a warranted fear.
Yeah.
It's not really based on anything other than the fact that you're from another country.
So people who have it,
I
they're
know
sick.
lots of people like that.
They have it.
I was
Okay, so
raised
we got to
with
watch out for the xenophobes. So there's some people out there that we don't even know about.
Oh, you know that. I mean, it's not so much watch out, but you really have to always be conscious of what you're saying and how you say it and who you say it to. And I guess, like with me, people just feel very open to say like whatever they feel to me, and whether it's a bigoted statement or whatever, they feel safe to say it to me. And so, I've known a lot of people like this in my lifetime, and so you just kind of have to like kindly guide them and shut it down and kind of. It's not the devil's advocate, but the empathy, have to, like a little bit about my history, so I have to say, like, no, this is the perspective. This is the real perspective. Instead of how you see it so blindly and so fearfully, this is really like,
Go ahead. No.
There's a
So which is what we learned about the xenophobes today.
Yeah, xenophobes, but you know what I think we've always known about the xenophobes, we just didn't know they had a name for it, right? We
Okay.
could call it, you're just a racist, or, you stereotype racist. It's a fear, right? But it's also a dislike. Okay?
Intense dislike.
Yeah.
It's fear of anybody who doesn't look like you.
It's a hatred, but hatred is generally based out of fear of something.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Insecurity.
Okay.
So let me tell you a little bit more about this document. So this is a report of the working group of experts, and they call us the people of African descent. So that's a new term. PADs.
Okay.
I don't know if there's going to be a block that you can circle. UAPAD, so we're people of African descent. Okay, so this is on its mission to the United States of America. Because, one of the challenges we have as a people is, what do we call ourselves? And so I was born colored. My parents were Negro. Sometime in my life, I think it was with Jane Brown, I became black.
Okay,
And
I'm
suddenly
glad
I
you're
woke up
proud.
African American. So all of this in my lifetime.
And I think I know that I was born African American. That's where it started for me in the 80s.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
I don't know if they were calling us black people, but by the time I could understand language,
I
was African
So you've been
American.
African American all your life.
Yeah, I think so.
Well, now.
But for me, my whole thing, when I go to check a box, I don't know what my heritage is either. And I'm not like white, Caucasian, so I check other because there's Native American in my blood. I don't know what I am. My grandmother was dropped on the doorstep. So for everyone, like this whole like why somebody today text messaged me and I was like, who are you? And he's like, the black guy. Like that could be 85 people.
I mean, it could be, but I want to say just on the strength of, you know, your father. What did your father identify as? White?
Or your mother, yeah.
Yeah, what does your father and your mother identify as? I mean, if your father,
When you ask
you
my
know,
family what our heritage is, they all go, I don't know.
But I can tell you
yeah, but what
let
you
us separate. You white. Could just start checking white.
Yeah, but when you look at my mom, she's super tan.
No, I'm talking about you.
yeah, but look at your experience, your history,
Let's
your
help her.
experience with
Let's
your
help her.
father.
But I pay a lot of money for this blonde hair.
Look at
Seriously, I look white because I
you may would. Mine is color too, so I don't know if these look like
I pay a lot of money to look this cheap.
you don't look cheap. Don't sell yourself short.
That's what I'm saying. Anybody
Well,
who's
just-
trying to
just-
do that, people
okay,
look like
just-
whatever they want.
Yeah. What is America?
It's
All
in the
mixed.
summer, I'm
Let's
super
just
tan.
Just for the purpose of this conversation.
Look at it.
Not to take that away from you. I
you
think
pretend
different colors,
you white.
like all these different things. I know I'm white. I'm
We
switching.
just pretend you white.
Me personally.
I'll pretend I'm black. And you can be the other.
I'm American. That's what I am. I am American.
Thank
I'll
you.
take that.
Me too. Okay. Exactly.
So
How
now-
about on that?
Okay, but America is not a nation. It's a nationality.
Well, that's
That's what we represent.
That's what it is.
When I went to the United States,
Lord.
I was
We're back on the table, truth.
Oh. Yeah. When I went to the UN, I was the American.
Uh-huh.
That works.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's
I
all
was the-
ever wanted to do.
yeah, I was the American.
For America. I never even wanted to leave the country. For real. I never wanted
Really?
to leave the
Okay,
country.
so
Not to make peace relations. No, I
So
knew
let's
that
talk
I was
about,
in America
so
for
let's-
America. Because
so-
I always knew how bad this situation was.
So before we get into the document, let's read a little bit about how this document came to be. Okay, so this report contains the findings of the working group of experts on the people of African descent on its visit to the United States from 19 January, from 19 to 29 January 2016. So they were in the country for 10 days. In it, the working group presents the current legal, institutional, and policy framework and measures taken to prevent racism, racial discrimination, and xenophobia, Afrophobia, and related intolerances faced by people of African descent in the United States, underscoring positive development as well as gaps in implementation. The working group describes the situation, highlights good practices and main challenges identified, and makes concrete recommendations. So they separate xenophobia from Afrophobia, so we have a separate class all by ourselves.
Okay.
Afrophobia, we can imagine what that means. Look it up. What's
I
that?
got stuck. I'm like, there's another phobia.
Afrophobia.
Yeah, because our skin's kind
Is it a dark skin?
Well, Afro, like
So-
Afrocentric, Afro-American, yeah.
So
Well, it looks like let me tell you this, based on Google, when you put in Afrophobia, it goes Afrophobia in Europe, Afrophobia in South Africa, Afrophobia in Ireland, Afrophobia in China, Afrophobia, you don't even get to the meaning, you just kind of got Afrophobia in all these different countries. That scares me alone. Should I travel?
well,
Yes.
we have to go to the less Afrophobic countries.
Okay, Afrophobia is a term used to refer to a range of negative attitudes and feelings towards Black people or people of African descent around the world. Definitions refer to irrational fear with the implication of what is this? Come on. It looks like antipathy. I thought it was like anti-apathy. It should be anti-apathy because that looks like antipathy. Fill it out. Look, ANTIPATHY.
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 So it's like anti-empathy. So you
Yeah.
really don't have the ability to empathize with anyone.
Yeah.
You're the
So you're against it. You're against it.
anti-empath. So
Contempt
that would mean you're a sociopath.
and aversion.
If you don't care about anyone else's feelings, that means you're a sociopath.
Okay, so now we have
Disconnected.
a special class of illness called acrophobia. So we have to find out what are some of the recommendations for dealing with.
Tendencies toward people of color.
They recommend the ways to deal with it. I can't wait to get to the recommendations. We're not going to skip straight to the recommendations. We got to go through all the rest of the stuff, don't we? There's 22 pages here.
Oh my gosh.
So this is how we're going to spend the rest of Black History Month. But we're going to go through the recommendations. We're going to, merit the recommendations.
Oh, we should thank the circus also for coming to the Mardi Gras.
Oh, you want to talk about the Mardi Gras some more? Okay. Anyone wanting to join us in this conversation can dial 702-983-0711. Who's performing today?
The
Red Circus.
That
Okay.
could be fun
Yeah.
to watch.
And we want to assure people with all of our hearts that Mardi Gras is not an over 21 New Orleans style.
So this is not a Sin City Mardi Gras. This is a Soul City
This
Mardi
is
Gras,
true Mardi
people.
Gras celebration.
SoulCityLasVegas.com. Go there and look at who we are.
Masquerade and of the epiphany of Jesus. Truly, can't even get more holy. And the king's cake inside, we're going to cut it, and whoever gets the king and the baby in the middle has to pay for the parade for next year. We should give it to Mr. Munford.
You know what? Cut my piece out.
That's what I'm like. I know, but later I'll give our Mr. Munford. Just want to let you know that's why.
And we were going for the biggest cake in the world, but I didn't know anything about Mardi Gras when I signed up for this. And she said, "Oh, we're going to have the biggest cake in the world." Who knew the biggest cake in the world was 4,000 pounds? Why would we want to do a 4,000-pound cake? So why don't we do the best cake in the world instead of the biggest?
Exactly.
Big doesn't necessarily mean the best.
And no one in Las Vegas
right.
they keep it cold enough.
And we want the best cake in the world.
We don't want
So who's making the
Rihanna's
best cake in the
cake
world?
right. So I would
Well,
think this.
Rihanna, her family, her dad works at Public Us downtown. So the chefs there baked it for us.
Public Us.
Public
Big
Us,
shout out to
yeah.
Public Us. And we're going to have the best cake.
With the baby inside.
With the baby inside. Okay.
It's a true king's cake. It's actually a brioche. It's not even a cake. It's a brioche with some icing on it.
So
it's just
what
some
is a
bread.
brioche?
Some almond bread.
Sounds
Some
delicious.
French bread.
So we're
Does it
starting a
have
whole
like
new...
whipped cream or anything on like that?
Let's go later and get some good.
I'm just kidding. Oh my God. Let me just be honest. Somebody might want to know if it has whipped cream or ice or something.
Yeah, no.
King Harvey Mumford. He
Yes.
signed up today to run for the city council.
Did you?
I went down there with him. Yeah, he's excited. And he sat and he was very calm and he's really seriously going to represent us, and it's a long-awaited day for us.
And I want to say the reason that we did Bless Him as the King of the Mardi Gras is because with what I do, as far as the gardens, and the school gardens and sustainability and just Black unity in the community, that's been my motto for a very long time. And then when I saw that he had these newspaper articles from the very year that I was born, and his motto.
You will pull out some history on
you.
Yes.
It's like the fact that the first day I stepped in the garden and saw that I'm on Stewart Street, and I'm like, oh, well, this is Helen Stewart's garden. Like, I don't get any part of this name of this. It's not mine. She owns this property. It's Helen's. Like, everything goes back to the history and our forefathers and foremothers, especially like in Las Vegas. This place has great history. And so she was a mom of 5 children, a single mom whose husband was murdered. Like, I can think of no one better footsteps to follow. And she was the first.
Murder your husband?
No, to be a single mother and like keep it together and be the largest landowner of this whole county, the first woman trustee of the school district, the woman who started the schools here and brought the Paiute Indians to the school because there weren't enough white kids. And she was like, I'll bring the Indian kids to school too, and then we have a big enough place to have school. She was all about the first woman of unity in the community, and so it was my honor to like go stand in that garden. No, that's my garden. That I named the garden after her. You know.
Wow.
And when you go into the depot and you go to the bus station like there, the bathroom, that circle picture of that woman, that's her daughter.
Okay.
And I didn't even know that, but
What?
it's just theirs.
Well, I would just want to say this for Mr. Mumford. I have had the pleasure of knowing Mr. Mumford, I think it's about 2 years now, and I did meet him through Ward 5 Chamber of Commerce. Wait, no, I met him down at the State Building. He was down there rallying for his constituents, and I said, who in the heck is this tall man? And I didn't really know him at the time, but we talked, and he walked me to my car, he gave me his card. And then I found out after I went over to the Chamber of Commerce that he was the chairman on Miss Duncan's board. And here's what I will say. He was the first person, when I decided that I was going to do a show, Diversity and Inclusion for the 21st Century, Mr. Mumford, okay, he was the one that really opened that door for me. And I will say that, I'm definitely blessed because it's not every day that you could meet someone like who's in a political office who's willing to say, you know what, I'll be your first guest, right? You don't know what you're doing, and he was my first guest for that multicultural bill that he had passed to teach, diversity in the school. To teach multicultural communities inside of the school. So, I was very blessed to meet with Mr. Mumford, and you know what? They couldn't have chose a better person from my point of view. When they do choose, I hope they do choose him because I do think he is a great leader, knowing that he was an educator for like 32 years. And plus, he gave me a gift one day. And I will tell you what this gift was. It was a government book. Because he told me the responsibility of the people, you have civil duty, so you need to know this information.
When I first met him, I had owned my own business. I owned a travel agency, and I was doing what I consider quite well. And I lived, and I have to admit, I lived outside of the historically Black community. And a group of people came to me one day and they said, well, you appear to be a successful business owner, and we need businesses on the west side, and our neighborhood is crying for someone to help us. And I felt, a kinship, but, I didn't really have time to go over and deal with people's problems. But I thought, okay, a lot of my business comes out of this community, and this, I'm going to see what I can do to help. So I went to Mr. Mumford's house, and there were like 40 people there, mad as hell. And I was like, what have I stepped into? And they said, we want to change our community. We need to make a change. We can't keep living like this anymore. And we need change, and we need change. And I was like,
the civil unrest.
Yes, and I was right in the middle of it. And I was like, oh, these people sound pretty serious. So, but I don't just jump into a problem. I try to understand what the issues are. I don't want to deal with band-aid approaches to huge problems. So we figured out, we thought we had it figured out. They decided I should run for city council in 2007. I said, why should I do that? Well, you speak English, you can make an understanding, and you'll take our concerns to the city council. Okay. They knew that I would listen to them and take their concerns to the city council. Mind you, I had never been to City Hall. Didn't even know where it was. And they ran me for city council, and I didn't even know what I was doing. But I ran anyway. Naturally, I didn't win, but I was able to get the voices of the people heard at the round table. I got into the inner circle. And so when I didn't win, I was like, whew. But if you thankful, or Ricky Bravo won. Okay. Seemed well suited for the position. I thought, well, nice. And this lady called me up and she said, Miss Duncan, I don't see you doing what you said you was going to do. I said, what you mean? She says, I voted for you. And I expect you to do what you said you. Don't make me have thrown away my vote. I was so confused.
You're like, wait a minute.
I said, I didn't win. She said, I don't care. I voted for you, and I expect you to do what you said you're going to do. And I went, okay, well, I guess I'm not finished. Because everybody who voted for me expected me to keep my word. So I would start looking for ways to implement some ideas that I had about how to help. I tried to do it, so we started the Chamber of Commerce. So we can't do it as citizens. Maybe we could do it as business. I know the business side of things better than the residential side, so we tried to influence the government as businesses, so we started the Chamber of Commerce. So the first thing we did was reach out to the university to find out why the neighborhood was in the condition that it was in. Because these people believe, or they had been led to believe, that it was drugs, prostitution, crime, and all these things that was the reason why there was no development in the community.
Okay.
But after I reached out to the university, Dr. Christine Clark, she was the head of diversity and inclusion at UNLV, she said that your neighborhood suffers from white supremacy and racism, and until you deal with that, you won't see any development. I went, holy shit.
And this was 2007, 2008?
2007, I go, holy shit. I mean,
Yeah. We're independent. Go ahead.
How do we overcome white supremacy and racism? What does it look like? You know, and if that's the veil that's over our community, the reason why it won't go away, how do we roll back that veil? So, which led me to the Universal Peace Foundation.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So that's the story there. So, which gets us to the United Nations.
That's how I met you.
Yes.
I met you through the Universal Peace
Federation and Women's Federation.
The Women's Federation.
For World Peace, yeah. Because I started looking for ways to combat racism and white supremacy, and this is the only group that I know of that tackles it head on. They understand it. They've been doing peacekeeping missions all over the world. When Japan occupied Korea, they were involved there. They were involved with the Israeli-Palestinian conversation. So I was very, very moved by the Women's Federation for World Peace and Universal Peace Federation, because it takes us to look, like I said, it takes us looking at America's racial problem from a global standpoint. It's from people who are not Americans. They're looking at. So the three people who were on this working group were Muriel Fanon Mendez, France, Sabella Guzmez, and Ricardo Sunda III. Okay. So the working group visited Washington, D.C., Baltimore, Maryland, Jackson, Mississippi, Chicago, Illinois, and New York City. They met with representatives from government, including the Department of State, Homeland Security, Housing and Urban Development, Health and Human Services, the Department of Labor, Justice, Environment, and they also met with the Equal Employment and Opportunity Commission in Washington, D.C. So they got around in those 10 days. And Baltimore
are supposed to be credible organizations.
Well, yeah. In Baltimore, they met with the federal judges. In Jackson, they met with the officials of the Office of the Mayor and Attorney Generals in the state of Mississippi. Then they went on to Chicago and met with the Attorney General there and representatives of the Office of the Mayor of the City of Chicago and Chicago Police Department. I guess they pretty much went through the legal system, meeting with attorney generals and mayors in most cities. Then they also met with officials of the White House. I guess there's officials of the White House who are working on African American issues. Are you familiar with that?
No, I'm not familiar, but do you think that's happening under the current administration?
I don't know, so we should check on that and find out. It says the working group met with officials of the White House working on African American issues.
Okay.
So see if there's some African Americans who's at the White House is working on African American issues. Again, if you want to join in this conversation, you are free to call 702-983-0711. Call it on the cell phone. Isn't going to work because everyone needs to hear. So if you're listening to VegasTribune.com, call through the radio station.
Call here, not
Right. Okay. So, and also they met with the Congressional Black Caucus.
Oh, really?
Okay. Yes. In all of the cities that the working group visited, it met with hundreds of African Americans from communities with a large population of people of African descent living in the suburbs, as well as with lawyers, academics, and representatives of NGOs. Okay, so they were invited by the government of the United States of America. This group. So America has been cooperating with this council, this group of experts. So they were invited in, and they were given cooperation, except for a couple of areas they weren't getting access. So it says they regret that they were not given access, contrary to the terms of reference for special procedures mandate holders, the Mississippi State Penitentiary.
Okay.
They didn't get that.
Can I say something that people may not know, but it's my understanding and that In the United States, we build our prisons in accordance with the test as third grade children. So when you go to these schools and there's fences around and you're gonna say how it looks like a prison and certain things, like, they're not educating the children, they're just setting them up for, you know, I don't know, I don't get it. I don't get
Well,
why it's
we
so
know
hard.
that there's a school to prison pipeline. We're very aware of it.
And it's a money-making industry too.
And I'm sure that's, if it's not in the UN's findings and recommendations, I'd be very surprised.
Well, right there, they don't give you the proof before Mississippi or.
Set your heart. Oh my God, you're so
Okay.
popular.
Okay, so
Well, I don't know if you, I didn't find anything as far as the
a
official,
working group.
a working group, but I did get something from www.whitehouse.gov from President Donald J. Trump proclaiming February 2018 as National African American History Month. And he has a whole proclamation that was written by him ending in his ending with his, I guess, supposedly signature, Donald J. Trump from the White House.
So let's bring that in and discuss it tomorrow. Let's go through and see what the president had to say about Black History Month. I think
That's pretty
important.
good.
Okay. And if he touched on the UN findings, that would be huge
What
to know
else
if
did they
whether.
deny access to?
Okay, so they were denied access to the Mississippi State Penitentiary. This visits to such facilities provide opportunities to obtain views and make recommendations. Okay. Oh, they're calling us. You gotta call.
Yeah.
You gotta call on a different number. You gotta call on 702-983-0711, or we can't bring you in. So we're standing by. We're gonna talk to you, but you can't call the cell phone. So we just okay. So the working group also regrets that it was not possible to meet with all the high-level state and local level authorities as had been requested. Okay. So they were really, really sorry that they could not get into the Mississippi
And
State.
then the officials of our country wouldn't even meet with people.
Some of them were not.
Did it say that they wouldn't meet or they could?
It said they were not able to, they regret that it was not possible for them to meet all high.
So it didn't say in terms of they refused or
It's
anything.
an as has been requested.
Okay, so just because you put in a request don't mean your request is gonna be granted.
So they requested.
So in the event that, just to be on the safe side, we don't know, they were only
We
here
don't
for
know the
10
reason
days.
why.
We don't know the reason why, so.
But if I was approached by this group from the United Nations, I
Exactly.
think I'd drop what I was doing to make it a priority.
And that's kind
But
of
that's speculative. That's
No,
subjective.
that's
That's
what we
not
would
just, yeah, that's not just,
I
that's
think
just not.
African Americans could expect that.
If the
We
UN
should.
calls you, don't you answer, don't you show up, isn't it your honor?
Yeah.
I mean,
I think it's like jury duty.
It's
it's like
honor.
you're
It's not my honor.
No, but it's not.
It's part of your civil duty.
Civil duty.
To
Yeah.
help.
So it is your honor. It's part of your civil duty.
You mean jury duty?
Yes,
Okay,
it
what do
is.
you say?
Yeah.
Bring me lunch and I'll do it. Seriously, it's so hard to parse. Just bring me some lunch down there. But no, it's completely different. Like to me, it's to serve for the UN and answer for the UN on behalf of your nation. Like that's not an honor. It is to me. It is to you. I know. Like you'll take time off work and travel out. You know.
You know, I'm not too into the dignitary stuff anymore. I must admit. I kind of, you know.
So it's just jury duty to me.
It's just jury duty!
Okay. So I'm gonna skip over just for now because we're gonna be running out of time here. I'm not gonna give you the history of African Americans and the United States.
Well, we just tackle the document day by day because we
Right,
still got the
right,
whole month
right.
of Black History.
Exactly.
Black History Month.
Right. So, but what we do need to know is that there's a legal framework attached to this. The United States has ratified 2 of the international instruments related to the fight against racial discrimination. We need to be looking at the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights and the International Covenant on the Elimination of All Forms of Racial Discrimination. So despite having signed other relevant instruments such as the International Covenant on Economic, Social, and Cultural Rights, the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination against Women, the Convention on the Rights of Child, and the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, which could enhance the protection and recognition. So what this is saying is that they think that if they, by getting all of these international instruments signed, it would protect African Americans as well. So, but they said the internal process for ratification of these instruments have been stalled for a long time. The United States has not signed and ratified any of the human rights treaties that would allow the United States citizens to present individual complaints to the UN Human Rights treaty bodies or to the Inter-American Court of Human Rights. So
we gotta get through this document by the
Yes.
end of the year.
Yes.
Americans are not allowed to file a complaint, basically? Is that kind of?
No, it's saying that they haven't got around to
Protect.
taking care of
The
these
business.
trees. Yeah, taking care of these businesses. Not saying that you.
And
you know,
so when we start looking at the recommendations on how this group believes we should move forward, we need to think about what are we as Black people, what's our duties and responsibilities,
absolutely.
what is the role of white people and any other people in making sure that these recommendations, if warranted.
So Black people have a job to do.
We do.
Yeah.
And we can't expect anybody else to do it for us.
Absolutely, I 100% agree with
And
that.
if we don't know what the job is, we can't be about the business of getting it done. And so we have so many Black groups saying, oh, let's get together and come up with an agenda. Let's get together and figure out where our problems are. Let's come around the round table and
Well, here's the
figure out,
beginning of that
let's
agenda right
let's
there.
start someplace with the United Nations. I think that's a good
Start
place
at
to
the
do it.
top.
Yeah.
You start at the top and trickle it on down.
And hopefully, the people who did the study didn't come on one side or the other, or if there's sides, so to just come with the truth. You know, this is what happened. This is what it needs to do to fix it.
Mhm.
And as I was saying at the beginning of the show, a lot of this is spiritual. A lot of the unrest that we're facing in our country is not. It is presenting itself as Black against white, but I see it as a lot of a good versus evil, and there's a lot of evil spirits circulating in our country. People who just want to make unrest.
But I think it's on both sides. It's not
Yeah.
like a good versus evil, like Black versus white.
Exactly.
It is like it's on both sides.
It's
So I
on both
want to
sides.
always be clear and
Yeah,
really
so
say
we
that.
can't identify all white people as devilish and
No,
cruel,
absolutely
and
not.
all Black people as pure and good, because I've run up against some Black people that were just very devilish
Absolutely.
and some very good too.
Too,
You know,
yeah.
so you can't judge people.
And
by
I've
the
met
color.
some great white people who have just completely opened the door and understood, you know, the struggles that Black people have had and said, you know what, here, let me take you by the hand.
So the challenges that we're faced
It's
is
human.
there's
Yes,
a
human
human
side.
there's a human struggle here,
Like the
and
rest
there's
is human rights.
Absolutely.
but we can't not pretend like we don't have a challenge here in America dealing with our future as a country, because race relations is one of the areas where the rest of the world thinks that we're really doing poorly.
But that's like you said yesterday about loving yourself and the whole hate issue, like, and the all the phobias that go back to hate. All the hate is based in fear of the unknown, and so that's why the conversation has to be kept open about fear. And it's not a color thing, whatever. It's a fear thing. Fear of what you don't know. Fear of the countries over there. And you don't even know the language, so your parents have told you one thing about them that's completely untrue.
But I don't believe it's all fear. You know, I believe it's something, it may have started out as fear, but then passed through generations, it is something that is continuously being taught.
It's become a culture.
Yeah, it's become it's become a culture, so we gotta be mindful of that. That might be the root.
Right.
Fear may be the root, but now we're dealing with the symptoms of that problem. So we have to now
it's
address.
way deep now. It's way deep and embedded and ingrained. Like there's
The
many-
house.
Oh no, I don't think it's always. I don't think it's completely ingrained because you got these millennials now.
the haters.
Oh yeah, but I mean the millennials, they're changing the culture
Absolutely.
every day. So let's not be. We gotta give big ups to the millennials. That's what I'm saying.
But there, like I said, it's a spiritual process.
Mhm.
There has to be a lot of letting go of resentment.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to sit around a table and figure out how to address a problem if we're all pointing fingers at one another.
I
You know, so-
love the millennials. how it works. I wish everyone could just be.
That's why
Real
people challenge my outlook. Technically, I'm still a millennial, but you know.
The millennials are hip hop, everyone, and there's no
Yeah.
division because no, you're right.
But I think one
Millennials
challenge I
are
have with
divided.
millennials is that millennials, what I do have a problem with them is that they don't seem to embrace the history because they're not feeling perhaps the challenges of not being able to sit where you want on the bus.
Because they
Not
were
being
probably born African American.
Right, but then history does repeat itself if you don't know what happened. So I have to encourage everyone to know your history, understand your history, because if not, it'll come back around.
Wait, let me, I wanted to address this, because of something you said, it'll take 1 minute. You guys talked about, Black History Month yesterday, and, I did some little research, you know, I'm a millennial, so we look everything, all right?
Good.
And I found there was, initially in 1926, it started off as Negro History Week.
Right.
So it was just a week, and
It was
the
just
second week of February was considered National History Week,
Right.
according to Carter G. Woodson,
Right.
and the Association for the Study of Negro Life and History announced the second week of February to be Negro History Week. And there it
And then
turned
at
into
some
a month.
point, it went to Black History Month, but I think there's still a couple of states in the country who haven't ratified it.
Really?
Who have not ratified it. Arizona.
In America?
The Arizona.
Oh, okay.
Might have ratified it.
Well, it's in Canada, the United Kingdom,
Right.
the United States,
And it's
the
known
Netherlands, in the
as,
Netherlands.
It's African American Achievement Month.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So
No, in Netherlands, where it's known as Black Achievement.
Black Achievement Month. So in Netherlands, we're still black. Okay.
All right. Black, African American, colored, Negro. I heard Oprah state all those terms, the transition over her lifetime where she became these. So I find it really interesting because I don't know what it's like to be Negro, but I know what it's like to be African
No, I
American.
went to school with a
Just like you,
Negro.
the anagram or whatever, the POC or whatever, well, that's people of color, but people all the time like come up with these new.
Right.
So,
You're like, what are you?
Right, no, you're a human being, but you are.
But we
Yeah, but we don't never want to lose our identity.
Not at all. There's
Okay,
just
so we
all
can be
the
human.
different anagrams and stuff, like,
We can be human.
Yeah.
We can have a nation. We can have a culture. We can have a religion, and they can all be. We can't necessarily be defined by any one of them. So when people say, "Oh, I'm not black. I'm just human," well, you're human anyway.
And then you gotta tell them at one point, being black, you weren't even considered human. You were 3/4. So
And so,
know your history.
never to me. But no, never to me. And that's the thing. Like, there's so many different names to go by. I can't do it. My friend always say colored. And I'm like, we're colored, white colored. So,
Yeah.
like
So
you
it's-
said, there's 10 different names.
until we figure out who we are, we know we're going to stay
Yeah.
confused. But even me, as a child, I opened up the Bible to try to figure out some stuff. And, in the Bible I was given as a child didn't have any black people in it at all.
Well, it had pictures in there or
They had
what?
pictures in it,
Get out of
but
here.
none of them were black.
Oh,
And
okay.
so I, went to my grandmother. I'll tell you that story on the day. The story my grandmother told me about where black people came from. Shame.
Shameful. Well, when I looked in Genesis and it said Ethiopia, I was like, Ethiopia is in Africa, so yeah, that's where
I didn't have Google.
Oh, no, this was Google.
I
It's in
didn't
the
know
Bible.
where Ethiopia
You know,
was.
it's
Wikipedia to show her where.
Oh, okay.
Was. Or
Well, you know what? There's a running joke. If you don't want black people to know something, put it in the book.
Well, no, we were well educated. I
This
must
is
say that.
this
But
is
we
a
were
joke that I heard when I was like 12 years
We were
old.
just miseducated.
You heard that one before? You heard that?
I mean, we could read and write. We could write the best
Yeah.
papers. I mean, my math skills were impeccable, but we were miseducated.
Mm.
So we were lied to.
Miseducation of the Negro. I think that's a book.
Hoodwinked. All those things we were. And
Yeah.
So remember, we were taught Darwinism.
Yes.
So we're almost out of time.
Yeah, we are. Even though I'm on this side of the desk today, we are almost out of time. We got 2 minutes to go.
And
There's nothing can take us away.
we almost ready to go away because we didn't talk about the stuff that's happening in the city, in the country, in the state. Did we do the news?
All
We
right.
didn't do that.
All right, we'll extend the time for Black History Month and go ahead, because I know y'all gotta get out of here because I got the Mardi Gras
We gotta
coming.
get off the air. So I
Yeah.
think the biggest thing is we have to keep an eye on the cannabis legislation. Okay.
Look, oh, you still sitting there now, huh?
We need to keep an eye on it. Because of how it affects African Americans. You know, it affects us more than any other group of people.
What, the cannabis legislation?
Yes,
Okay.
So we need to keep an eye. Okay, you can be responsible for reporting back on this next time.
Okay.
Okay. So
Tonight,
tonight, what's happening tonight at the Smith Center?
I'll bring that then.
Well, let's look at all the stuff. All the things that we're supposed to talk about.
No, she's talking about the legislation.
Other things to do with Mardi Gras. I thought those were going to be in the paper today. Where to go for Mardi Gras? They didn't do that? They didn't put that in the paper? Where to go for Mardi Gras?
Who is this, the review journal?
This is the review journal. Maybe I just missed it. Okay, so our gaming board opens info gateway. Okay, there you go.
Thanks, Sam.
All right.
So Carolyn Goodman says that Las Vegas is a great spot for sports. Oh, on tour with Notorious RBG. Is that B.I.? Who said
No,
Notorious RBG?
oh,
Who's
Lord.
that?
RB.
Is he a rapper or is he
Let me see.
RBG? Who's that? Okay.
Judicial Rock Art Tour.
We don't know. Well, I'm trying to learn all about rap and hip hop.
Well, that ain't it. That's like totally political.
It's probably time for us to go off.
Yeah, that's what it is. That's what it is. That's what it is. Duncan, I'm going to need you to take us out. I'm Felicia Monica. It was a pleasure sitting with you guys today, but I got a job to do and get back as producer. And
well, thank you, Monica. Network Nevada TV. We're so blessed to have you air our show on your network, Network Nevada TV. And Jennifer Young, gosh, you're doing a terrific job. Into the community, planning this Mardi Gras. I can't wait to get in.
It's going to be so fun today.
Yes, I can't wait to get there. Thank you so much. And again, thank you, Rolando Larraz, Vegas Tribune, for allowing us this 1 hour daily, noon to 1.
There you go. I feel like we really hijacked the place.
we did. We did.
And happy Black History Month. Thank you.
Thank you.